Hello and welcome to the agenda on Labour Social. In breaking news, we've got some breaking news for you. Jeffrey Donaldson, the leader of the DUP, has resigned. He's deleted all of his social media stuff, his LinkedIn, his YouTube, his Twitter, everything else. And in an entirely unrelated news, a man and a woman have been arrested for historical sex offences.
They've completely had this. They've said it's because of this. The DUP have issued a statement. It's all very much out in the open now.
Oh, right. Okay. So we don't have to be coy about it. And
no,
say 61-year-old man was arrested.
No,
By the way, the leader of the DUP is 61. So what is it with the DUP and the Tories and being a massive nonce?
I mean, you wouldn't have believed it of Jeffrey Donaldson. He seemed one of the more sane ones.
Really?
Yeah. Like he was a member of the UUP before. Yeah, the DUP have issued a statement. The party chairman has received a letter from Sir Jeffrey Donaldson MP confirming that he has been charged with allegations of a historical nature and indicating that he is stepping down as leader of the DUP with immediate effect. In accordance with the party rules, the party officers have suspended Mr. Donaldson from membership pending the so this morning he was leader of the party. Today, now he's suspended from the entire party, pending the outcome of a judicial process. The party officers have this morning unanimously appointed Mr. Gavin Robinson MP as the interim party leader.
Wow, this is so he's the leader of the DUP. This is the equivalent of
he was
Rishi Sunak,
not even a member anymore.
Keir Starmer going down.
Well,
but this is the leader of that party, that terrible party that opposed the Good Friday Agreement and wanted Brexit, and then spent the following 6-7 years whinging about Brexit.
Yeah.
No, not like that. We want to be free of the EU. No, not like that. So what?
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say what they wanted was they're raging at the trade body that's been erected, which was inevitably going to be erected as a result of Brexit. A hard Brexit at any rate, which they also supported. They thought, I suppose, the hard border would go inside of Ireland, and you'd try and point out to them the Good Friday Agreement, and they just, well, we didn't want that. He says, no, you may not have wanted that, but the British government wanted it, the Irish government wanted it, the people of Northern Ireland wanted it, and the United States wanted it.
Yeah.
Everyone else, everyone that's not the DUP wanted it.
Everyone but you wanted to have a party, and you didn't want to have a party because you're a bunch of miserable sods. But they were the people who teamed up with the Tories in 2017 to form the coalition government that we had. Well, no, it wasn't a coalition technically. It was a supply and confidence deal that they had, which meant that they supplied the votes.
Specifically, they would support Theresa May if she was ever to face a confidence vote. So they'd support her as Prime Minister, and they would vote in favour of her budgets. That was it.
Yeah. So this is pretty seismic for politics in Northern Ireland. I mean,
no, I think it is for the DUP. It doesn't affect Stormont because he wasn't a member of Stormont. He's not the DUP's leader in Stormont. He's not he's just an MP. He's still an MP unless he steps down from that as well. Quite frankly, probably given that he's deleted all of his social media accounts, you would think he'll also step down as an MP. But who knows? I mean, that's up to him. But it doesn't have to affect. Obviously, it's a huge scandal. So it'll be in the media, but it doesn't have to affect the running of anything in Northern Ireland.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as the DUP is concerned, this has got to impact.
Oh yeah, because
support
throughout. I mean, they rattled through 3 leaders in the space of a few months, and they've stuck with him through what, from their point of view, has been pretty tough times. So they obviously didn't feel they had a lot of other options. But at the same time, as long as they don't make Sammy Wilson the leader, they should probably be okay.
Thank you very much to press the one button there. Thank you very much to Brad W for the super chat. DUP leader done over Good Friday. The day of the agreement, they don't support. Talk about irony. Good point. Very good point, Brad. Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, Good Friday. It's another Good Friday agreement. They agreed to arrest It's Jeffrey Donaldson. I mean, this is yeah. I mean, this is. Could this mean the end of the DUP? I mean,
it's one person, isn't it? There's plenty of loonies there.
yeah, but this
And
is
also,
this
it's
is the end of a not the end, but this is a. I mean, they've not had a good time of it, have they? Because they've their own people stuff that they've not been able to achieve.
But
they've held up Stormont. Everyone hates them.
But they don't, because people keep voting for them. I mean, unionists in Northern Ireland have basically got a choice. They can either start to vote for someone more pragmatic like the UUP,
or the Alliance
stick with
Party.
the DUP, and just basically they're on the path to unifying Ireland. If that's what they want, that's fine. But that's where they're on the path to, because they're failing to make the argument for Northern Ireland remaining in the UK. I keep saying Northern Ireland did get a benefit of Brexit, a genuine, tangible benefit of Brexit. And that is they are now the only place in the world that can export hassle-free to the British market and the European single market. Yeah. Rishi Sunak himself said it last year. No one else has that. He said it's really exciting. And it actually is. It's not. Technically, trade is more awkward still for them than it was without Brexit, because imports are more awkward, but the exports are not. Yeah. So you can actually encourage businesses to set up in Northern Ireland. I mean, there's only got so much infrastructure. You can't have everyone flood there. But you can have businesses set up in Northern Ireland that might have set up in, say, like, Manchester or something in the past.
Yeah.
Take advantage of that. You could attract quite a lot of investment. But investors are not keen on political instability. So because the DUP refused to say, actually, the Northern Ireland Protocol works in our favour, because they're not about economic arguments, they're about ideological arguments.
Yeah.
And as far as they can see, there's more harmony between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland than there is between Northern Ireland and Britain, which is true. But that's what Brexit did. So that's what they hate. And because they can't think strategically, they're going to work against the only argument, because that's actually a powerful argument for union. You could say to yourself, okay, so if we now reunify, if Ireland reunifies, immediately you create a hard border with the British market. You don't gain any extra benefit with the single market, because that's already free. Trade to and from the single market is already free. Yeah. The only friction is in imports from Britain to Northern Ireland. That's the only place where Brexit brought any friction for them. And that friction would still exist. In fact, that friction would increase. And you'd also have friction in your exports to a British market as well. So you actually create an economic argument for remaining as part of the UK. Yeah. It doesn't mean to say that that would win over all the other arguments, but it would. But the DUP aren't going with that. They're actually treating that their only thing.
Card. They're treating it like it's a bad thing. They're like, look at this awful thing.
Look at that. Picked out a card. An ace of spades. Oh, rubbish.
Oh, I don't want that. It's rubbish. That's the worst one. Gone? Yeah. I want the two of diamonds. I mean, considering they call themselves unionists, they're not up for the reunification of Ireland, and they're not in for the European Union either. Well, yeah. But then again, the Irish nationalists, you'll think, Northern Ireland nationalists, you think, the nationalists, they'll be for Great Britain, right? No, they're for the other side.
It gets a bit confusing. Sometimes a bit odd. It can be odd, but it is what it is. That's why they'll often the sort of harder unionists will describe themselves as loyalists.
Yes, yeah, very loyal to the mother country that doesn't really give a shit about Northern Ireland. I hate to break this to them.
Doesn't even know where it is. It doesn't even know where it is.
And I mean, a lot of people in Britain just have an attitude towards Northern Ireland as like, it's a place where there's loads of trouble, more hassle than it's worth, and we don't make any money out of it. What's the point?
And now Brexiteers also see that it's a huge problem for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. They made the Titanic and the DeLorean. So,
that is true.
Good films.
There's a bit
came as a consequence.
A trademark issue with the DeLorean at the moment, isn't there?
Is there?
Yeah, someone's taken them to court, but I think it's because something to do with the fact they're trying to say someone who has the rights to the original DeLorean, of which there was only one made, is having a pop at like someone produced, but they're producing like the film version, which was heavily modified. So it's not really like the DeLorean anyway.
Yeah.
Real DeLorean didn't actually come with a flux capacitor or anything like that.
No, but it did come with stainless steel on the outside. Stainless steel, which Elon Musk has done again with his Cybertruck, and apparently.
Have you seen the boots?
The what?
The demonstration with the automatic boots of the Tesla and a load of other competitors.
No.
Oh, it's a cracking video. Basically, it's what these people did to test the boot, like a boot that automatically comes down. So they put like a carrot and a courgette in, like as if it's your fingers stuck in there. Oh. Every single model, it goes to that and it stops. It goes, oh, there's someone's fingers in the way. The Tesla, bang.
Oh, God. Is that the Cybertruck or all Teslas?
I think that might be the Cybertruck.
Ah, that goes through me.
So, yeah, literally every other car manufacturer goes, people might have their fingers in. Should we put something in place to like not have them severed? Tesla goes, no, we just want it to come down.
Yeah.
Because that's Elon Musk, isn't it? Like half-asses everything.
Yeah. That's why those rockets keep blowing up. But yeah, the Cybertruck is apparently like just rusts. Like you've got to wash it every day with like a particular type of cleaner, or it'll just rust. It's sap from trees, bird shit, just dirt off the road, like anything. Yeah. This is why you have layers of paint on cars that has been specially made, modified over decades to like be the best thing that you could have to coat the car in. And he's like, no, I'm not having that. It's going to be pure stainless steel. But I think you can now get a modification where you can get it actually, your Cybertruck, you can get it painted, but it's like $5,000 or something. Oh my God. Yeah. My last car, my Nissan Micra, was 200 quid. For the car, not for the paint job, just the car. Anyway, so should we talk about what I put as the thumbnail before this all kicked off with Jeffrey Donaldson? Yeah. So Angela Rayner was living in a council house because she's working class, and that's what working class people do. And then she had a bit of money, so she bought her council house with a 25% discount. Thank you, Maggie Thatcher. And now she sold it, and the Tories are going absolutely bonkers over this. Is this just rank hypocrisy, or is there anything more to it?
It's absolutely brilliant for Labour. It's exactly like 2 years ago when they tried to go on a beer gate. So what's happened is nothing, by the way, we know there's nothing untoward. And how do we know there's nothing untoward? Because first of all, she's already been investigated by the police. And always go, well, why didn't she just publish all these things? Why didn't she publish her tax returns? Why didn't she publish this tax advice she got? And I'm thinking to myself, probably because she's been advised not to, because they're loving the fact the Tories are tying themselves in knots over this. And nothing's going to come of it because she hasn't done anything wrong. And how did I know? Because I mean, Dan Needle, who's a tax lawyer, said, well, maybe, she would have, she has, or inadvertently, because a lot of people do this. Apparently, if you're not really wealthy and you're not like, you don't do capital gains tax things, sometimes you can be liable for capital gains and you don't realize it. Because for most ordinary people like you and I, we just pay income tax. So we never realize.
I'm not ordinary. I'm extraordinary.
All right. Well, I'm ordinary. Okay. So you could think, well, maybe she made a mistake, but no. And we know she has, because first of all, she said she has this tax advice. Now, okay, she could be lying, but Keir Starmer was asked about it, and he said he hasn't seen it himself because that wouldn't be appropriate, but his team have. Now, from Labour's point of view, they don't want anything derailing the local elections or the general election campaign. The deputy leader of the party, if she ended up in legal trouble, then that would be very bad for the party. So it is in the party's interest to make sure everything is above board, because if it isn't, she's made a genuine mistake. It needs correcting quickly and early. So obviously the party have gone, right, and they've sat down with Angela and go, let's just check this. Obviously it's fine because they've checked it all. The police have checked it all. If HMRC gave a shit, they could check it all. She hasn't refused to hand it over to the police. She can't refuse to hand it over to HMRC. No one else matters. Absolutely no one else matters. But you could argue, well, she could easily just redact the names and stuff like that from the tax advice and then publish that, couldn't she? And you'd think, yeah. But then I'm thinking, but isn't it just funnier not to? It's a little bit like when they were going through that ACAS stuff with appointing Sue Gray. And it's like, oh, why didn't Starmer just say? Why didn't he just say when he approached it? Why didn't he say this? Why didn't he say that? And later on he did, but it was because they were still going through the process, so they weren't saying anything. And it was brilliant because all the Tories just tied themselves into knots over it.
Yeah.
And just wasted a lot of time. And the thing is, while they're banging on, like they got on the front, was it the Daily Express today? It was the Daily Mail. So while they've got it on the front, oh, of course it was. It was the Daily Mail with Beergate 2 years ago, wasn't it? While they've got it on the front page of the Daily Mail, having a moan about Angela Rayner selling an house, what they're not talking about is what the Tories are trying to say to attract your votes. Because people aren't going to say, oh, I was going to vote for Labour, but Angela Rayner sold an house. And also the hilarious thing this is all based on an accusation by Lord Ashcroft. Now, she'll remember, so Lord Ashcroft, I think she has got away without paying $3,500 worth of tax, which according to Dan Liedl, it wouldn't have been that much anyway. If she had made a mistake, it wouldn't be that much.
Wow.
But also, so he's going on, oh, she dodged $3,500 worth of taxes. Do you know how much taxes he's dodged? Legally, I'm not saying Ashcroft's done anything illegal, but do you know how much tax Lord Ashcroft, is a member of Parliament, has dodged in this country?
I would say up to, I don't know, it must be hundreds of millions. It's got to be a lot.
At least £112 million because of non-dom status, something that when he was made a Lord, the Tories said, well, he'll have to give that up, and he didn't.
Oh my God!
He's got a special arrangement. This isn't supposed to be possible for a member of Parliament, even in the House of Lords. He's got a special arrangement just for him that means he can keep that, because he was mentioned in the Paradise Papers. That has this special arrangement just for him, so he can sit in Parliament and still dodges income tax in this country.
And he's the one who's going out. They don't have any.
No, absolutely. Tories, no shame at all.
No shame.
Brass neck is what Keir Starmer calls, isn't he? Absolute brass neck of them.
But this is all going to come out, isn't it? Is this what the line is with the Labour MPs then when they're being questioned about this? And Angela, are they saying, but hang on, who's asking for this?
Well, I don't. Not as far as I know. Not as far as I know. Apart from anything else, they'll just be accused of being evasive then. But yeah, it's. Just imagine if the media actually reported things properly.
Oh my God, that'll be it. The world would change.
But yeah, there's no way Labour would, if there was any, like, if she had made a mistake and she owed a couple of grand in tax, it would have been done with by now. There's no way Labour have gone, Angela, are you on top of this? With her zero background in like taxation, tax policy, or
tax
accountancy or anything. Obviously, you don't go when an election is like in the balance, not that it's really in the balance, but when an high stakes election, you don't go, Angela, you're on top of this. Yeah, okay, fine. Let us know if you need help. No, you go, right, we're going to sit down with tax experts here and make sure that you have dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. So the fact that Starmer can say he hasn't seen it's not appropriate, it's nothing to do with him, but his team has, means that experts have sat down with her and gone, yeah, you're fine. The police have sat down. I mean, the fact they're reporting that the police are thinking of relaunching the investigation, it's not actually true. That's not to say they won't, because we know they did over Beergate after political pressure. But that's not what the police are saying. What the police have said is they had this complaint, they investigated it, they found she'd done nothing wrong. So now they've had a complaint about the way they did the investigation, so they're going to address the complaint. That is not them saying we're thinking of doing the investigation again. That is them saying we're going to consider what you're belly aching about now and write back to you, because you don't just, if someone has a complaint about the way you do things, you don't just go fuck off.
Yeah.
Because that's impolite apart from anything else. But that's all the police have said. We'll look at your list of complaints and decide whether you've got any points or not.
Yeah,
that's all.
So we've other news this week. We've got the Tories being Tories. This laundry list of people who have been given knighthoods and honours, and it includes Mohammed Mansour, who's the guy who gave £5 million to the Tory party and is now getting a knighthood. Like,
well, I mean,
what?
I mean, it's shadier than that. It's not just another donor gets a knighthood. You know, he's had a very shady past.
Yeah, and
including doing business in Russia.
Yeah, the family company's still been operating in Russia after the invasion of Ukraine. But then again, emphasis have been, from the sound of things. But yeah, just how is this allowed? Like, how come every 5 minutes Tories seem to be making more peers?
This isn't a peer. I mean, none of these are peers. This is just knighthoods,
and
OBs,
gongs.
and MBs. I have less of an issue about this. I mean, people get because we live in times where we sort of think these things should go to deserving people. But my argument is always the origin of the knighthood is it went to people who were really good at cracking skulls for the king. So knighthoods have always been given to ourselves. We just then created this mythos that it was for noble people. But there was nothing noble about nobles. So there was the odd decent one, I'm sure. But, you know, by and large, they were just people who were good at
Attenborough, he's all right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even historically, there was probably the odd decent one who didn't just run swords through peasants every time they came across one. But nonetheless, I mean, it's not got a great history. You know, and OBEs and MBs, and don't get me wrong, if someone offered one to me and I'd actually done something for it, I'd be very pleased because it's the national honor. But you know, perhaps we should just scrap the whole thing and have a new honor system. Just scrap the old one, leave it as a legacy thing, have a completely new one which has zero political input.
Yeah.
Other than setting guidelines. The Parliament can set the guide. I'm not saying, you know, Parliament can set guidelines. Cross-party committee of MPs can set the guidelines, you know, and honours. Well, you have an honours committee anyway, but then ultimately you don't have political appointments to a national honours system. Other than you can have one, maybe you have one that a government can confer for like exceptional, like, you know, like the George Cross type of thing.
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
Like
but I think it should
really
also be for like OBEs, CBEs. It should be Order of British Excellence. Because
I'd scrap it. I would scrap the whole thing and start again. Just completely new honours. Complete break with the past.
Okay. Awesomeness.
I mean, we've had deserving people who've turned down these honours because they think, I don't want to be a member of the British fucking Empire. I'm black.
Well, exactly. That's why calling it the British Excellence.
But they'll know you've just sort of checked. It's the same thing. It'll still have the same connotations.
I mean, if you're not going to change it completely, if you just want to tweak it so it makes it more palpable for other people, like I would be uncomfortable getting an OBE. Not that I'm never going to get one, but I would be because it stands for Board of the British Empire.
Yeah.
I have my reservations about Empire.
So, well, yes. So, but that's why I would just get rid of the whole thing. Then there's no connotations or anything. None at all. It's just like get rid of all of it. We'll just have new things. Yeah. We'll have the order of the lion. We'll have the order of the unicorn. We'll have the order of the dragon or something like that.
Sounds good. I want to be part of the order of the dragon.
So do I. I was born in the year of the dragon. You know.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
The 76.
Yes.
Ah, see that? I know I think I'm the goat.
Yeah, the most of the
greatest of all time.
Goat's not too bad. Quite a lot of the Chinese animals they're not very flattering, are they?
No,
maybe they're more flattering in China. Maybe they've got a better view of them in China, perhaps.
I think the rat won the race, though, didn't he? Because the rat jumped onto the dragon's nose, so the rat comes first, and then it's the dragon. Anyway, Paul Ewan in the chat points out not all nobles, which I quite like. But also, I was going to say, Annalise Dodds, Labour chair, has said it shows a blatant disrespect for the office. Sunak should feel privileged to hold.
See, I don't like that statement.
Do you
they keep saying things like that? I don't like it when they describe positions like that as a privilege or an honour. I'd hate it. And I know Labour do it just as much. And they shouldn't. It's not a privilege. It's not an honour. It's a responsibility and it's a duty. And they should use those words. Because if you describe a privilege is something for you. And it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a duty and responsibility. And when you use words like privilege or honour, you're basically saying this is for me to enjoy. No. You get a nice pension afterwards.
Yeah.
You get a nice pension after. So I would, you know, if I was to ever meet any of these people, even senior Labour members, I would say, can you stop saying that? Can you put the emphasis on responsibility and duty? Ban all Labour politicians from describing their position as an
Oh,
honour and a privilege.
You need to be working for
This is
Labour
a
comms, man.
This is a weighty responsibility which I will take seriously, should be the line.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Tories just treat it as a.
Well, they actually do treat it as a privilege, so they're actually being more honest in many ways.
The Tories.
Yeah, because they are actually treating it as a privilege. They're doing it for themselves.
Yeah. 1984 was the year of the rat, apparently.
But yeah.
Janine says, I'm the year of the monkey, which I'm quite jealous of. I'd love to be the year of the monkey. Because, the nature of monkey is irrepressible.
Yeah, but they're not really considered. We tend not to use it as a term of endearment in this country. Maybe in China, they're better regarded, but although not so much. Where is it that there's a load of monkeys just taken over? Is it Thailand or somewhere?
The Monkey King.
Just basically taken over a town.
What, monkeys?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a place in Bali where they just come and just basically.
No, I mean, like
food
literally in the last week.
Oh,
where they're not at all used to it.
They're just descended. The monkeys have descended. It'll probably be in India.
I have an idea it was a subcontinent somewhere. Can't remember.
Sam's just talking about the irony of a Twitter account that calls Starmer and Labour massive liars, and you should never vote for them, while having Boris loyalists as part of his username. The guy who was found guilty of lying by Parliament. Not just a select committee of Parliament, but by Parliament.
Yeah, so a majority of Tory MPs on the committee, and then a majority of Tory MPs in the House of Commons going, there's nothing even to argue about here.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a vote.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a vote. No one could even be asked to object.
No one objected to him being called a liar because he's a liar. 1989 is the year of the snake, apparently. And
my sister was a snake. She was like 77.
Well, no, I'm happy being a goat because I'm a Czech. 1979, I think that was a goat. Might be wrong. I might be a sheep. I might be one of the sheeple. So, other news stories this week that have sort of made me laugh. We'll probably talk about this more later on in Labour Social, but just Lawrence Fox has had a week, hasn't
he? Yeah. I keep saying it's the most tragic and self-destructive midlife crisis I've ever seen.
God, but it's taking place in full view of
well, that's what makes it so tragic.
And do you know what? I've got no sympathy for him. When Britney Spears was being hounded out of her sanity by the media, by the paparazzi, I had sympathy for her.
Yeah.
I've got zero sympathy for Lawrence Fox. He is everything he's done in his life that's messed up his life has been his own doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I read a thing about how he treated someone in a restaurant who was serving him years ago when he was still with Billy Piper, and I hate people who are like that. People who don't treat serving people with respect.
He doesn't treat his own colleagues with respect. The man's, even within his own sort of party, his weird party, it's
wasn't there like a ding dong? Was it Andrew Bridgen? Was he a member of Reclaim for a week or something?
Yeah.
And they fell out over a Christmas tree.
Yeah, Andrew, have you heard it? He's now got to pay 40 grand. So his libel case is alleging defamation against Matt Hancock. And what's happened, the latest is hilarious. So the judge has basically said, I'll not put it in legal terms, in common terms, he's basically said to Andrew Bridgen, I can't tell if your case is worthless or if you're just an idiot, because he's essentially said you're not making a coherent case here, but I'm going to give you another chance. But he's still got to pay Matt Hancock 40 grand to cover the legal fees. I mean, it just explains how expensive defamation cases can be. So Andrew Bridgen hasn't even lost yet, and he's still got to pay 40 grand.
Excellent. What a shame. Couldn't have happened to a nicer person. But I think that Lawrence Fox might be going back to court. I mean, he is accused publicly his ex-partner, his ex-wife, of being a junkie.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can get around it. Maybe you could say I wasn't talking about her. I don't know how many ex-wives he's got.
But I can't imagine he'll enter court with a great deal of credibility.
Well, he's going to find out how much he's got to pay to those two gay men that he accused of being
Yes, that's true.
paedophiles in
Yeah,
public,
yeah.
and then he was surprised because what was his problem? He didn't like people calling him a Nazi or a fascist or something.
Well, it didn't like he was accused of being a well, there was a race. There was one with the one we lost recently, where he was trying to say to the judge, define racist," and the judge says, "I don't have to, because the first thing you have to do is prove that it harmed you, and it didn't.
Yeah.
Many
Also,
other
he's
things
called a
may have
racist,
harmed you,
wasn't
but being called a racist was not one of them."
he? Well, he would have been James Bond had it not been for the fact that someone had called him a
Right.
racist on Twitter.
I don't comment on his abilities as an actor because I don't know enough to judge actors. I don't watch enough stuff, and I've never watched any
I
of his
do.
stuff.
I
But I
do.
find it vaguely
He's shit.
hilarious that he auditioned to play himself and didn't get the part.
But no, I mean,
Endlessly hilarious, that to me.
he's a daytime TV supporting actor. That's what he is.
Did he play Lewis
At
or
best.
something?
No, he played Lewis's assistant.
Oh, right, okay.
So Lewis was the assistant to Morse. Morse died, and then
Yeah.
there was a spin-off called Lewis, and
Oh,
he
I see.
played Lewis's
Oh, got
Lewis.
it. Sidekick.
Which I don't think that's going to get many reruns now because people just don't want to watch him. He's just horrible, and he's taken out on everyone else. And I unblocked him for the day on Tuesday. I think I just said, just go Southeast Asia somewhere. Just find a beach. Just stay there. Just go find a beach. Sit on the
Well, he would do
beach.
himself enormous. I mean, he must have a lot of money. He would do himself enormous favors to just like chill out for a bit, certainly.
Yeah. Well, he's going to do something that will lead to an early grave if he continues the way that he is going at the moment. And unlike Britney Spears, I don't think anyone's going to put a conservation order on him.
No.
I don't think we have them in this country, but an intervention by his family, by his wealthy family, might be an idea. But I don't know how well I'll take it. But he's just, I think we all know someone who's a bit like Lawrence Fox. Do you know what I mean? Just someone who, if you're out and you see them and you're just like, oh, not him. Do you know what I mean? Here he comes. And he's just
these
horrible
people
to
who just
everyone.
blame the world about all their own failings. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so extreme in his case.
Yeah. Viv is saying, I'm amazed that you had time to watch TV, Graham, considering how much travel you've done. Well, I travel, I go hard. I get up. I get up in the morning and I'm making stuff, doing stuff, reading stuff, watching stuff, and I don't stop till I fall asleep. That's my usual day. People talk about having a day off, and I'm like, what? Is that a thing? Maybe if I'm ill. Jazz says he was in a World War I horror called Death Watch. He played a posh bloke who goes to pieces under a tiny amount of pressure. Much have stressed his talents to play himself. But yeah, it's yeah. But I think he is very typical of a certain class of British person who is born into immense privilege and is pretty mediocre at stuff, but has just been given this giant platform by the media to say and do horrible things and be a nasty bully and just be a bit of a prick.
Yeah, well, it is the same with anyone. Everyone always thinks that everyone has stresses. You sort of think to yourself, someone who's that rich and life has come that easy at them, it must be glorious. But everyone, has their stresses.
Yeah.
And they just don't see that because they can't live like normal people who actually have genuine struggles. And you'll there's always someone worse off than you. I suppose there must be somewhere in the world the worse off person in the world, but the people just see in terms of themselves and others around them. I remember Billy Connolly when he talked about his growing up, and he said he didn't ever feel poor. He lived in a tenement block, didn't ever feel poor because everyone else he knew lived in the same situation.
Yeah.
Whereas, so if you're living in extreme privilege and everyone else you see does, but everyone else seems to be doing better than you, then you think you're outdone by.
Yeah. There's a book called The Spirit Level, which deals with this, where they talk about inequality being the root cause of unhappiness. So if everyone in a village is poor, then, relatively poor to people who live in cities or whatever, then that, their well-being, their sense of well-being is a lot higher than people who live in a society where you are rubbing up against the fabulously wealthy, you get away with murder, and you can't make a single mistake. They can literally drive someone, to death, and if you drive in the wrong lane, That's it. You can't afford to have a car anymore because you've had to pay a fine.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, we've been looking at how much it's going to cost for the bus to school for the girls, and it's going to cost. Get this, Phil. It's going to cost 10 times more for the year to send them on the bus to school rather than drive them.
Really?
10 times more,
How's that
Phil.
work? How's that work?
£4.20 a day, 2 of them, and our car's electric, so it only costs a few quid to fill up with electricity. There's something wrong. I mean, in America, the most capitalist country in the world, they have school buses. They have those yellow school buses that goes round, picks the kids up from outside their homes, so they don't have to hang around on weird street corners away from their house, and takes them to the school.
Yeah.
The fact we don't do that is just mind-blowing. Especially as most of the time the kids are going to school and coming back from school in darkness because it's the winter. Absolutely bonkers. But that's Britain for you, isn't it? John C., thank you very much for the £20 super chat. Appreciate your company today, Graham and Phil. God bless you. Oh, thank you very much, John. God bless you too. And have a good Friday. We were a bit worried this morning, Phil, like you might be taking the day off for like the holiday. Are you a bit like me? You don't take holidays?
I don't have holidays. Like my partner's obviously got the long weekend, and she's saying, "Oh, we should put the shed up this weekend." And I said, "Okay, you do know a weekend for me is maybe a couple of hours on Saturday."
Yeah,
because it's like not different for me. Like the internet's still there.
Yeah, indeed. So what else have we got this week? We've also got the story about the water companies, in particular Thames Water, wanting to charge 40% extra on water bills. So
to pay for the stuff they should have been doing over the last 30 odd years.
To pay for treating the sewage that they've been putting into our rivers and lying about it. So there's a court case going on to do with the fact that these water companies have been lying about how much shit they've been putting into our rivers. Just while Phil is distracted, I'm going to say, Captain Bart Roberts, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the super chat. An Easter egg for Labour Social. Oh, thank you very much.
I've got Easter eggs. I've got 2 actually. You can't. I've
it's just
the green one up. That's not clever. But do you know what's funny? If we talk about it, because they're all going mental. Nigel Farage is reckoning he's going to eat himself to death with chocolate on Sunday.
Yes, I saw that.
The NHS.
He went.
What I find is hilarious. So GB News did this thing about going, they're changing the name. They're not calling them Easter eggs anymore. They did this thing. They had this picture of someone holding this Cadbury's egg, and it said Easter egg on it, right? Now, this one, these are good ones, by the way. It's not your Cadbury shit. This doesn't say Easter egg on it, and I don't care because it's still in the Easter section on the shop. It says chocolate egg. Chocolate's nothing to do with Christianity. Eggs are nothing to do with Christian. And I'm a Christian, right? I said, is one angry pagan in the thing? Because he is. He might be upset at this because eggs and bunnies are symbols of fertility and fecundity from the pagan celebrations.
In fact, the word Easter comes from the pagan goddess, doesn't it? It's nothing to do with Christianity.
Literally. I mean, obviously, so it is also a Christian festival as well. It's like the sort of resurrection of Jesus, fine, and that's fine. None of that is being stopped. We still have hot cross buns, which are vaguely Christian. I like them. I've been having some.
I was talking about that. It's messed up though, Phil. Come on. Having a cross as a death, a thing for killing people.
It's not though. It's the symbol
on a sugary bun.
It's not. The cross is the symbol. Okay, it was used as a basically a murder device. But for Christians, it's a symbol of sacrifice. It represents the sacrifice.
Yeah, but I'm with Bill Hicks on this. The last thing Jesus is going to want to see when he comes back is another crucifix.
No,
it's like, guys, what? Are you taking the piss?
Well, I should think he's going to be more mad at people like Nigel Farage and Lee Anderson claiming to speak for him, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
they're going on about this thing. And why?
Hey, Trump is selling Bibles. Trump is selling Bibles, $60 a pop. He's selling Bibles. The least. The least Christ-like person on the planet, probably the most anti-Christ-like person on the planet, is selling Bibles.
Yeah,
good old capitalism.
It was, but they do my head in. As a Christian, these people do my head in because they give us a bad name. And why are they moaning about it? Because apparently there's been some chocolate treats designed for Ramadan. What's the problem? There's Ramadan lights. Yeah, there's no such thing as Easter lights, mate. They're not replacing anything. They're not stopping Easter. Easter's still going on. If
Yeah.
you want an
No, it's
Easter
a
egg,
zero-sum
go
game,
to
Phil.
any shop that sells chocolate and you will find Easter eggs. If you want an hot cross bun, find any shop that sells baked goods and they'll have hot cross buns for you. What else do you want? What do they want? They get everything
it's
they
just
want.
culture war bullshit, isn't it?
Of course it is.
But I love the idea of Farage eating himself to death.
Unfortunately, he's not going
to stick one to the NHS.
He's only going
That'll
to eat
show
one
them.
egg, he says. Do you know what he actually said? When you read the details, he says, I'm going to eat a whole Easter egg, even if it spoils my dinner. Wow, rebel.
It's like the suicide people out of
two Easter
Life of
eggs.
Brian. They turn up with the swords and they're like, Suicide Squad, and they just all commit suicide.
Yeah.
Anyway, Shazek, £5 super chat. Thank you so much. Happy first birthday to Labour Social. Yay! So we've been going for a year now. Phil, did you know this? This is our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, you did mention it.
So last week in March that we started last year. And
There's
we've
also
made
another anniversary today.
Oh, go on.
It's the anniversary of Theresa May triggering Article 50.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Because 29th of March 2019 was supposed to be the day we would be leaving the EU, only we did not.
We did not. And I thought we could hang on. I thought we could hang on there.
Yeah.
But no. It didn't turn out that way. But yeah, thank you very much to Shazak for that super chat. And I got another one from Brad W. Swimming in the Thames is very like politics, in that you start at Oxford, and if you swallow enough shit, you end up at Westminster. That's from Hugh Dennis. Thank you very much. That's very good. Hugh Dennis from the Mary Whitehouse experience for the older people in the crowd.
The rowers, the Oxford and Cambridge rowers have been told not to get wet, basically. It's full of E. coli and they'll die.
They've been told they've got to have a shower after.
Can you imagine these like
throwing
athletes
the cocks into the water? They're going to have a shower.
Can you imagine these athletes? I wouldn't do it. Would you do it?
No.
Oh, yeah. Good luck in the race. You might die.
Yeah, keep your mouth closed.
Hang on a minute. I'm going to a good university. I've got quite a bright future ahead of me. I quite like rowing, but not that much.
Yeah. Sat nav there. Thames Water, 120 million owned UK pension pot leveraged. Thanks for the super chat. And yeah, good point. And Akbar Ali, thank you very much for the five US books. Never trust a man who cheats on his wife. No exceptions. The one characteristic shared by so many demons in history, which is true. I mean, I'm I know you're getting married later in the year, Phil. I'm not a big proponent of marriage, and this is one of the big reasons why. I think a lot of people stand up and say, I'm only going to ever be with this one person for the rest of my life, and I just end up sitting there going, how do you know? How do you?
If they stick to their own word, they will.
Well, exactly. But if they don't, I think there should be a rule that if you get divorced, you have to buy all your friends who came to your wedding a dress. Because they would have bought a dress to go to your wedding, right?
I mean, I'm not wearing a dress to go to a wedding.
Are you not? Oh, I normally do. I look great in a dress. G-Che is saying, I'm a diabetic atheist, so couldn't care less. Well, that's one way out of it. And then One Angry Pagan says, Easter isn't due. Easter is in the pagan celebration. Isn't due until next month as well. It's so messed up for me with everyone going mad for chocolate. Well, yeah, I mean, chocolate's not part of the pagan ceremony because we didn't have chocolate till it was brought over from the New World in the 1500s.
The egg thing's got nothing to do with the Christian side of it. That's the pagan side. It's a symbol of fertility.
Yeah. But yeah, I find it interesting that a lot of the Christian celebrations, that the ones that actually people get involved with, involve stuffing your face with food.
It's even like, if you think about Ramadan, I mean, they might have had chocolate treats brought out for it, but you can only have it like first thing in the morning or last thing at night because you're fasting.
Yeah,
right?
You
apart from a few exceptions.
Yeah,
and so it's whereas if that's not even Christians, because like they talk about Lent, that's a Catholic thing, really. I don't think it's really observed by. I think it's just Catholics.
Yeah, but the things that people do observe. So in Judaism, you've got Yom Kippur, where you don't eat, Day of Atonement. Yeah. You've got Pesach, Passover, where you don't eat, you fast, or you don't eat certain stuff. No leavened bread. But then all the Christian ones, like Halloween, loads of sweets. Chris Dingle, you get an orange with a candle in it. What's it called? Christmas. Loads of food. Food,
Loads
food,
of
food, food, food. And then like
That's actually the pagans' fault, though. To be fair.
well, I know, but like the beginning of Lent, you think, oh, okay, so we're gonna have a fast now, are we? And think
Yeah,
about
you give
think
up
about
one type of sweet.
yeah, and then you have Pancake Day and Mardi Gras. It's like quick stuff your faces, and then Easter comes along. It's like, oh, it's more,
Yeah, well,
more, more food.
that's because Christians know how to. We learn to look after ourselves. You see,
It's a bit more
we pray.
attractive if you're going to
We
choose a
adopted a
religion.
religion where we praise God via eating.
Aidan
So
says, "I'm
we
not
can
a Christian or a
show
pagan.
thanks.
I just like chocolate. I'm in Aidan's camp. Chocolate is good. Where I used to live in Panama, on my island, we had a chocolate farm around the corner where they made actual chocolate. It was bloody fantastic.
This is Colombian chocolate. I've got my Easter eggs from this year.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, well, 47% Colombian.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
One's got starfish inside. One's got dinosaurs in.
Ooh. Well,
so not really a creationist Easter egg.
No. But yeah, so yeah, Trump in America though. So he's had a week, hasn't he? Because I won't go into this too much because we normally talk about this kind of thing on Geoscope. But he on Monday, he not only got away with his massive debt that he was supposed to be paying off, they're giving an extra 10 days to get a much lower figure, which I don't think they'll do for any other mortal on this planet. But also at the same time, the what's it called? The trial date was set for April the 15th for his hush money fund, his slush fund, his hush money payment to Stormy Daniels, a porn star who he is alleged to have had an affair with while his wife was pregnant with his child. And you know, there's so many people who regard themselves as Christians in America who are going to vote for Trump.
They're not. I mean, it's like warped. And that's the problem. A lot of people blame religion for this, that, and the other. It's like these people, they're not religious. Or they might be, but they're not, you know, they're just using it as an excuse. And if it wasn't really, it'd be something else. They just come up with bollocks.
Well, yeah.
Because, I mean, like all of these things.
I never used to go along with that, Phil, but since Brexit and everything and the cults that have arisen over certain politicians in this country over the last few years, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think people have some kind of like hardwired need to you know, worship something.
If you think, well, it's not even that. If you think about the three religions that are always often pitted against each other, particularly in this country, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, right? They're all worshipping the same God. We all agree it's the same God. We all agree, like Jesus is a prophet in the Muslim faith. And so's Abraham.
Yeah, but then
they're all the same religion. They just disagree on how you're supposed to live your life according to religious
But then there's no agreement within the religions. You've got Reformist Jews, Orthodox Jews. You've got the Catholics, the Protestants. You've got Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, and then with Muslims you've got Sunni and Shia. You also got the Kurds, which is a bit different.
I mean, Sunni and Shia is
the whirling dervishes.
Literally, Sunni and Shia is basically a disagreement over who should have taken over from Muhammad, his like uncle or his brother-in-law or something.
No, it was his 12th wife.
No, I'm pretty sure his brother-in-law.
Was it? Okay, well, it was
a disagreement about who should take over.
Yeah.
That was it. I mean, what a mad thing to disagree over.
But yeah, it's worth all the blood that's been spilled.
At least the Catholics,
over the years.
Least Christianity split over something vaguely sensible. The Catholics wanted to give up a bit of chocolate over Lent, and the Protestants want to not give up chocolate ever.
I'll tell you what I find a bit dangerous, though, is the way that we have this sort of patronizing opinion of other religions like Sikhism and Hinduism and Buddhism, of like, oh yeah, Buddhism, it's all about peace and love. And the Buddhists in China are the people who went and killed all the Buddhists in Tibet. Well, the Buddhists in Myanmar at the moment are the people who took out the Rohingya Muslims. The Buddhists in Sri Lanka were the people who took out the Tamil Tigers. It's not.
Yeah. You know? Well, it's literally created martial arts as we know them. They did it for a reason.
Exactly. And Mike is saying Sunni and Shia were a great singing duo. Yeah, fair enough. I got you, babe. Jesus is mentioned in the Quran, says Bacchus. There's a different story, though. Different story with Jesus. He's actually rescued from the cross in the Quran by angels. I think someone's going to correct me now in the chat, but I think they slightly different telling that. And didn't he go up to heaven on a horse with the face of a woman, or was that Muhammad? I don't know, one of the two. Trevor says the Donny Bible thing is a grift on a grift. The Bible was originally hawked by the country singer Donny's working with in 2021 as a celebration of the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Oh my God, that's so messed up on so many levels. Happy anniversary of 9/11, everyone. And Frank, thank you very much for the super chat. Congratulations on the 1 year anniversary. Thank you very much, Frank. That's really kind of you. And Josh is there. And the transubstantiation. Don't forget that. So, as you know, that's whether the wine turns into blood in your mouth, or whether it's just symbolic of blood, the one that you have during communion. What's your take on that, Phil? Is it
again? I'm not a Catholic. I'm actually to any church. Obviously, if you were to pin me down, I'd say, well, I'd probably like get on more with Protestants, but that's because Protestants basically just go, yeah, we believe in Jesus, and we follow the Ten Commandments, but we don't create any extra rules, really. So, whereas Catholics created a load of extra rules, and you've got a certain madness about it now, like the whole no sex before marriage type thing was sort of created. It's nothing. I keep pointing out, Jesus' best friend was a prostitute, don't you?
Yeah.
So,
well, I kind of like him. He hung out with sailors and prostitutes, and had long hair and a beard, and just went around saying, "Let's all be nice to each other." The Bill and Ted philosophy, someone said in the chat, be excellent to one another.
And you point out that he was a Palestinian refugee, and they go, no, he's Jewish. Like Darren Grimes tried that the other week, was it? No, he's Jewish. It's like, yeah, he's still Palestinian.
Yeah.
And he was still a refugee.
He was a refugee, famously.
Will's most famous refugee, quite frankly.
Yeah. But, we don't want any of them coming over. So just before we go, there was figures that came out that I was looking at this morning about the number of people not from the EU coming here to work.
Oh, yeah,
and it's off the charts. It's
of course it is.
3 million in 1 year, I think it was.
Because you have a load of these jobs, like they kept thinking, it's ultimately based on this nonsense. Oh, they're taking our jobs. It's like, no, they're not. There's a load of extra paperwork if you want to hire someone from abroad, right? So it's much easier to hire someone in this country, or specifically, who's already settled in this country and has got all the right documentation. It's a right hassle dealing with foreign documentation. So, we're talking about jobs for which either the people who needed the jobs didn't live anywhere near it. Like you've got a job in like Kent, doesn't help someone in Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Or if you've got seasonal labor work, again, that's not helpful to people. So you've got job where people just don't have the right skills for it. So if you look, those, you've seen it as yourself. Look at those charts so basically what's happened is job growth. The Tories talk, all these jobs we've created, they're all for migrants. Because if you look at the number of UK citizens employed in the latest data at the end of last year, it's the same number as when we left the single market and customs union, but the population's higher. So proportionally, it's lower.
Yeah.
But there's a greater number of non-EU migrants. So all this jobs growth is for migrants, basically, is what they're saying. Yeah. And it's not for migrants from the should we put it this way? The breaking point poster that Nigel Farage stood in front of?
The one that had all the white people cropped out of it.
Yeah, the one that had no white people in it.
Yeah.
So the people that were in it, those were sort of probably from the countries that have seen this massive growth in jobs for them. So, and it's all caused by the fact, if you're talking about the jobs, there isn't a queue of British people for these jobs, otherwise they'd get them. So if you make it harder for people from Europe to come and get those jobs, then you're going to get them from somewhere else, or the businesses go under. Now, some businesses have gone under. Other ones have gone, we'll just recruit from like Asia or Africa then, won't we? Which is exactly what's happened. And most of them, the vast majority of them, are in health and social care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
NHS, looking after the old people, workers, not all old people, but looking after some of the older people who voted for Brexit because they're racist.
People who need care.
Yeah, but
mostly old people,
Yeah, older people, not everyone, and old voted for Brexit, blah blah blah. But I mean, there's going to be a good number of people in this country right now who voted for Brexit because they're a massive racist, who are now being cared for by non-EU nationals.
If they're lucky, because they're moaning about it. So the government has said things like, "Oh, well, we'll stop them bringing dependents," to which they'll just say, "Well, we won't work there then."
Yeah.
Then you'll be back to more shortages in care, health and social care.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I thought about that, about not being able to bring dependents. I was like, well, it just means that they're going to send more money abroad.
There is that as well. They'll send money back home to care for them there. Yeah.
Captain Bart Roberts, thank you very much. He says, "Don't be a cult. Practice safe sex," as in sexts with a T. And Johnny Copperhead, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Like Kevin Wilson, my denomination is pissed up testicostal. Is that Kevin Wilson? Was that Kevin Bloody Wilson? Was that the Australian comedian? Let me know in the chat, Johnny. How many of the old people who voted for Brexit have passed away? Well,
quite a lot.
I mean, a lot.
Millions. Honestly, millions. We're now at the point. So, according to the statistics, at some point this year, we're going to get to the point, we're nearly there now, we're going to get to the point where, on the balance of probability, when you look at how the demographics broke down, there will be as many Remain voters alive in this country as Leave voters. And so over time, there'll end up being more Remain voters, because they keep talking about this 17.4 million. Millions of them are already dead, and then more are dying. Yeah. Just because it was like 70, I know 30% didn't, but 70% of elderly people voted to leave, and 70% of young people voted to remain. There's now millions more young people who can vote, who couldn't vote then, and there are millions of Leave voters dead. So in actual fact, if we were to sort of take account of the people who can vote now but couldn't then because they're young, and we factored those in, we would have more Remain supporters than Leave supporters in the country right now. Yeah. And it's it's just the nature of the demographics. It's inevitably going to go that way. So the only thing that can stop us rejoining is if there was somehow a massive shift in public opinion. We don't need lots of Leave voters to change their mind, but it would be helpful and make the process quicker. We don't need it, though, for it to, they'll just die.
Yeah. Viv is saying most of the old Leavers have died off or are being very quiet these days, which is true. And then One Pagan saying, understanding breeds empathy, both breed wisdom. To get to any of them, one needs acceptance. Tories can't accept reality, and thus the rest is unobtainable to them. Well, on that point, I genuinely think that Tories, or that type of person who's just born into eye-wateringly high levels of privilege and wealth, they live in a different reality. It's not like they don't have reality, it's just their reality is very, very different.
There's certain things you as you're growing up and as your brain's developing, there are certain lessons you learn. One thing most of us learn are the consequences of failure. They don't. Now, you do get some people who have ordinary backgrounds as well, because they're so narcissistic, they can never accept that it's their fault. They end up having crap lives and just blaming everyone. So you do get those people. But anyone with a basically functioning brain realizes the link between their actions and consequences.
Yeah.
Whereas even perfectly intelligent people who have a very privileged background, some of them are inquisitive enough to try and see outside of their little bubble. But for most of them, because they don't ever experience any consequences, their brains, in their late 20s, the brain's fully developed. They're basically set for who they are, and they've never had to learn that lesson because there's never been any major drawback to any mistakes they've made. And so there's part of their growing up that just doesn't take place.
Yeah. Yeah. Arrested development. Yeah. The first thing taught to people is don't trust a Tory, says Sarah. Indeed. Veg Pie, been missing it all. Well, welcome now, Veg Pie. We're just wrapping up. So, are you around tonight, Phil, or are you off gallivanting?
I'm not off to the gym today
Oh,
because I've been ill.
Come the social. Oh, you've been ill.
Well, I don't know if I will be able to. We'll have to see.
It'll be good because it's the 1 year anniversary, so hopefully we'll have Aid and Supertansky, and I'm going to try and manage it because it is a little bit like herding cats, the old Labour social. I'm going to try and manage it so that we don't have too many people on the screen at the same time. So we're going to have 2 shifts. We're going to have like a 9 till 10 shift and then a 10 till 11 shift. See how it goes. It might be a disaster, but it might work. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, if you could make it, Phil, that'd be really cool because obviously you've helped out massively over the last year on this channel. So we would like to give you the respect.
It would have to be the 9 to 10 if possible. We'll have to just see because I have been. The headache hasn't gone away. It's actually that infection I had actually spread to my leg. I had to go to the doctor yesterday for antibiotics.
Oh shit.
But yeah.
Oh, well, look, if you're not feeling it, mate, just seriously.
Well, we'll just see how it is. Nice. It's just in the last few days. By the time I've got to the evening, I've been basically wrecked.
Okay, all right, we'll sack it then. Not that important. Not that important. But yeah, if you are still awake though, maybe jump in the comments and pick fights with people in the comments. That's always fun. Not that we want that. I'm joking. Please don't do that. So at least I'll be back at 9 o'clock tonight for the Labour Social. And joining us should be Supertansky and Aid Thompson. And Ollie Bowler Hatman should be putting in an appearance, I think. And also Rachel, who's been brilliant presenting The Intersection. We had a fantastic interview that she did with Patsy Stevenson, who's the woman who was arrested at the Sarah Everard vigil, the red-haired woman in that famous photograph, being arrested by the Metropolitan Police. At the event that Princess Kate was at.
Yeah, she was there early that day. Didn't arrest her, did they? Didn't bundle her over on the floor.
No. Anyway, thank you very much. And give us a like on the way out, please. That would be really helpful and kind. Thanks for all the great chat and for all the support. And thanks for the super chats. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Oh, that was a super chat button. Messed that up, didn't I? Let's do that again. And goodbye. Oh.